Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hey, it's your girl Tracy Williams, and I got my great friend here, Miss Shana Gourdine. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did.
Hey, we're already off to a good start. Thank you for joining, everybody. Welcome to Inspiring Hope, where we want to encourage you to have only positive expectations. And we can always do that through true self-care, meaning we got to get down to the nitty-gritty of how we feel, what we feeling, and why we feeling that way, and making sure we stay on those high vibrations, right? So as you jump on, please say good morning to us. Let us know where you're from. And if you have a business, please put your business name in the box. We want to know. We want to make sure that we support you and that you put your name out there. People, when they see it over and over, they will remember your name. So thank you so much. I got this great girl here today, y'all. This is going to be a super duper treat this morning. I'm telling you, you need a dose of dopamine this morning or the right amount of cortisol. This is it. You can get it right here this morning. Well, of course, I always want you to bring your favorite coffee, water, or tea and join Tracy. Hey, that rhyme. I'm a poet, but I know it. I'm a poet. All right, I know enough of my silliness, y'all, but truly, this is a blessing for us to have her here this morning. And I'm going to introduce her to you in just a minute. Just make sure that you put down here where you're from. We love to have you. We're so grateful that you are here this morning and spending some time with us, even though it's some weather outside today. There's a little rain in Kansas City, but it's still some good weather. So we are thankful for that today. All right, so let me get down to it, y'all. Okay, let me do it right. Let me put my glasses on.
Look,
All right,
glasses.
yeah. All right, I got Miss Shana Gourdine in the house. She has awesome testimony that's going to inspire you for sure, right? To make you reach your greatness no matter what you're going through. I know there are times where we feel like we got ups and downs in this world. Like life is like a roller coaster. One day you're on top of the world, and the next day it's like the world feel like it's on top of you, right? So, CEO
Absolutely.
and founder of Unmasking Motivation. She's a motivational speaker and the author of Unveiling the Mask Behind the Mask. Her passion was challenged, but she was diagnosed with 4 debilitating disabilities. Not 1 or 2, but 4. Fibromyalgia, polycystic kidney disease. Let me see. I looked this up. Polycystic ovary syndrome and ankylosing spondylitis. Spondylitis.
Spondylitis.
Don't forgive me. Anyway, so since that time, she has become passionate advocate about domestic violence, and she inspires many people to find their self-worth and improve their self-esteem. So that also says that she is a thriver, not just a survivor of domestic violence. She's a recipient also of the Purple Ribbon Award for Courage and the Global Face for African Fashion for World Peace in 2021, you guys. She also has been a human services leader and laborer since 2004 as a residential counselor and an assistant manager of the Center for Disability Services. So thank you again for joining us today. Today, again, is going to really be a treat. If you know anybody who's ever experienced any kind of disabilities or diagnosis that it felt like it was just too hard, it was too much, you need to make sure that you tag them in this video and that they share because you never know what one person's testimony may do, right? We go through these tests so they can become a testimony and we can reach out and love on each other and encourage one another so we can go further and really see our greatest potential. You know, of course, you can go somewhere fast by yourself, but will you really reach your greatest potential and be able to unlock all the gifts and all the talents and everything on the inside of you? So, welcome and thank you for coming so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you and such a treat to get to know you. I think the first time we talked, I feel like I have been knowing you already for years.
Yes, absolutely. It felt like, oh, you was like one of my friends from high school. Like, girl, we been friends.
I know. And that is one of the good things that came out of COVID-19. I know we have a lot of bad things to say about 2020, but I am grateful for all the good things that come. And what I found is when we focus on what we do have and not what we don't have, when we focus on what can be and not what could have been or what should have been or what might have been, then you know what? It keeps us in this place in our space, this headspace. I call it the headspace, where we can keep reaching higher levels and higher heights, which is what we're called to do, right? We're called to reach higher heights, right? Right.
Yes.
We're called to leave the past behind and press toward the mark of the prize of the high calling in Christ Jesus. So if you got to press, then you know it's not going to be easy. It may be
Absolutely.
hard. So it may seem hard sometimes, but you can do it. And for sure, when you reach out to people like Miss Sheena right here, then it makes it easier to do. When you hear her testimony, it will encourage you to share your testimony, which is why I love this so much, because I know sometimes things happen to us. Any kind of traumatic things that happen to us and make us feel like we got to shrink and not really be ourselves, then we put on this mask. And so I
Mhm.
want her to tell us a little bit about her book today, and then we'll go deep diving into, what the practical steps to take those masks off.
Well, the first book, which is called The Mask Behind the Mask, which is a book of poetry and spoken words that I put together for people to love all the imperfections in spite of what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. The second book is called Unveil the Broken Pieces of the Mask, which I took as a spin-off of the first book to now help people to understand the different pieces that they have to break off to then get comfortable in their own skin and to learn how to self-care, self-love, and know their self-worth.
Tell me, how did you come up with the title of this book?
So the first one where, I was sitting and, thinking about, all right, what is the perfect title for this book? I'm writing about scars, I'm writing about pain, I'm writing about going through things. And the thing about it is that a lot of us, we put so many faces on and we use it to mask how we truly feel. And in the midst of me going through my domestic violence or me finding out about my health condition, I masked it. You see me, I'm smiling. You see me, I look perfectly fine. And you would never know unless I took the mask off and sat and had that conversation with you. So the best book for this title was called The Mask Behind the Mask, because so many times we sit back and we hold another mask behind it that we don't truly tell people about unless we get comfortable and ready to drop the walls.
Yes, open the walls. I love that term. My first mentor, she considered it, she's like, Tracy, you got to look at yourself like an onion sometime. And you know what? You can only peel off one layer at a time. But as you peel an onion away, it's just like us. When we peel away those hurtful things, those painful things that we've been through, it hurts. And it makes us cry. And it stinks too sometimes. You
Yeah.
know, it ain't pretty. But
Nope.
when you get through it all, right, on the inside, it's very tasty. People can taste and see the goodness of God in you, right? Because what does an onion do? It flavor your food.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of time my metaphor is like a butterfly. A lot of times it starts off as the caterpillar and it goes in the cocoon and it has to grow and understand its lessons, and then it turns into this beautiful butterfly. So why not take the pieces off and start growing and healing and turn into a beautiful butterfly?
Amen. Amen to that. Yes. And so tell me a little bit about, how you felt when you found out about these different diseases that they diagnose you with. Because I don't like to say people have a disease. I like to say this is not who you are. This is just what you were diagnosed with. So you have a name to put with the symptoms that are manifested in your body, because it seemed like one day you were working, everything was fine. Tell us about that.
It was quite interesting because it started when I was actually, I think it was 2011. And a lot of times I'm just like, why? I was carrying my daughter. So I thought maybe she was sitting on something. I'm like, maybe it's just, she might sit on, she might have kicked something. Who knows? Us going through pregnancy, we go through so many different body transformations and situations. So after I had her, my back still was hurting and my hips still was hurting and working. And I'm just like, something ain't right. So I was going to these doctors back and forth. So for a good 3 years, they just kept telling me it wasn't nothing wrong with you. I don't see anything. Then I went from going to doctors to telling me, oh, you might be just be stressed out. It might just be all in your head. So literally at first going through this process, it was stressful for kids because doctors kept telling me it wasn't nothing wrong with me. And I knew there was something wrong with me and I was going to be a big advocate for that situation. So when I found out in 2014, the first thing I found out was my kidneys. It was polycystic kidney disease and the polycystic ovarian syndrome. And when I first found that out, like my heart dropped because, just being healthy and just not having like never been to the doctor, no surgery besides the kids. It's just like, okay, what is this? What's going on? So it was definitely a stress, a depression, a whole look at life. Like, why me? I went through anger, just disappointment. Like, why am I going through this? And then as I was going through it, then I found out the very next year is when I found out about my ankylosing spondylitis. And I found that out by when I was dealing with my kidney doctor. He's like, you still in pain? I'm like, yeah. So he sent me to the rheumatologist. So going through those tests is also stressful too, because now you're sitting there and you're waiting on the outcome to know what's the answer. Then finding that out,
Hold on,
then
let me ask you this, because some people don't know what I had to look it up myself. What is ankylosing spondylitis? How you say it?
ankylosing spondylitis. It
Okay.
is basically an arthritis that's in my spine that goes to the rest of my joints, like rheumatoid arthritis. It's pretty much inflammation that's inside my body that causes my joints to deteriorate if I don't do anything about it. So it's my body attacking myself,
Yeah.
and it's an immune it's an immune
Autoimmune
autoimmune
disease.
disease. There you go. Listen, brain was going a little off for a second, but yes, that's what that is. And a lot of times when we read up on stuff, it sends you in a whole different mindset, because after I found out what it was I read on it. And from there, my concern was, okay, what's next for my kids? Because at the time, my kids were like 4, 3. They were young. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So my mind was racing more about what's going to happen to my kids and what's going to happen to me. So at the time when I had to stop and realize, like, all right, Sheena, you got to come back to reality for a second. That doesn't define who you are. Yes, you have these conditions. Yes, they're around, but it doesn't control you. You can't let it control your life. And in that process of me healing from getting those information of my different things, I then found out I had fibromyalgia, which was the chronic nerve pain. And I had to, like I said, I attempted to work. I go back to work, and then after that, I found out I end up having reconstructive surgery on my thumb because the arthritis was coming to my hands. So I had to learn to embrace the new deck of cards that I had. I had to learn how to function with what I was given, and I didn't let it defeat me because it doesn't define me. And
Wait a
like
minute, hold on. What you said?
I didn't let it defeat me because it doesn't define me.
Hold on. What you said?
I said I didn't let it defeat me because it does not define me.
Amen. I love that. Yes, we gotta. I just want you to repeat that, because sometimes we need to hear that same thing over and over. That one thing can be that thing that encourages us to get up and rise again. Know that, you know what? Even all this stuff is happening all at one time. Boom, boom, boom. Like you're being attacked everywhere. Then it's like you need that something, that one word. And sometimes it only takes one word, one word from God. Bam, that changes every single thing. So if there's a listener out there that you are going through something, just remember those words that you said. Say it
Yeah.
again.
That it didn't defeat me and it does not define me.
Amen. Okay, go on. I'm sorry. I just asked.
No, you're fine. But as I was getting, just going through this process and talking to, my spiritual, that spiritual inside me, listening to the music, praying, and, just taking it all in. I had to remember that the battle wasn't mine, and I had other reasons of why this was becoming a testimony. Because I'm like, I don't look like nothing I'm going through. So this message is definitely for somebody else. And he gave it to his strongest warrior because he felt that I could handle it. He felt that I was going to deliver the message necessary it needed to be delivered. Because I remember like one time before I had surgery and I was working at IHOP. And, I was having a conversation. I have a lot of conversations with people. They tend to start talking about, the things they're going through. And, I start breaking down some things about me and they'll look at me. And I said, yeah, I don't look like what's going on with me. I look perfectly healthy, right? I get it. I said, but I want you to understand that looks can be deceiving. And a lot of times we wear those masks and we have to understand you will never know and truly know the way a person's walk or what they're going through until you have took a walk in their shoes and understand what they're playing and dealing with on a day-to-day basis. He came back to me the next day and told me that I saved his life because he was thinking about killing himself. From that day right there, I knew my story was for somebody else and not for me. I just carried and dealt with the situations to be able to make people stronger through their situations.
Yes, that is so, so good. Ooh, I hope y'all catching these nuggets. I'm just gonna tell y'all one more again. Yeah, I said it like that. One more again.
One more
Share
again.
share this with somebody. It is going to bring healing. There's so many people hurting, and you have no idea. You can't, like they used to say, you can't judge a book by its cover. You have no idea what people are going through. And that's why we got to keep a smile on our face, even under our physical mask that we have to wear now. What am I seeing? I'm seeing on the inside. We got to
Mhm.
come to a place where we feel grateful no matter what is going on. And sometimes people say, but it's hard to feel grateful when you're going through something, Tracy. It is hard. But who said it was going to be easy? The
Absolutely.
word hard, it could be relative. Don't say
Hmm.
it's hard because that makes it harder. But
Yes.
say, you know what? It's a problem. But if you got that anointing to solve problems, to solve enigmas, to go through something, then guess what? The anointing destroys every yoke. So it won't stay hard, right?
Absolutely. And like another part of me going through that, like I had to start remembering. I had to live. Like I can't sit in the bed and cry about the sorrows because if I just sit there on, not using the functions that I still had or not doing the normal life things, I'm just going to sit there and eventually deteriorate because I'm not doing anything. So, I learned what my limits was, going to physical therapy, learned, the different things I could do, learned different foods that I could take in and not take in. It's all about, I started educating myself on a lot of things. And then, to have my kids at one point, because I remember I was sitting in the bed one day and, my youngest came to me, I think she might've been 3 or 4. And she's like, Mommy, you don't get out of the bed anymore. Are you okay? So to remember that they're watching me, I couldn't allow myself to fall into a space of not wanting to live or being depressed or just not being able to just live for them. It's like, all right, Sheena, you got to get up. You got kids that is looking at you and they paying very close attention. And, in that moment was my moment that, look, you got to get up and let's do this. So that was my fighting moment to fight for them, fight for me, and just fight for life, period.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you for getting up and fighting and being that testimony because it takes courage to get up and do what you do. When you don't feel like doing something, then you got to know that you are not your feelings. Your feelings don't define you. Your feelings don't change. It can change 50,000 in one day, right? Up one moment,
Absolutely.
down the next. But you
Hmm.
got to have some kind of determination on the inside of you. And you mentioned a lot of things today that brought you some determination and support. But just to break that down, what were like maybe 5 things that you can tell somebody that they would definitely need to know that's going through something?
The first thing is to have faith. That's first and foremost. You gotta have faith on yourself, on God, on whoever you believe in. Because I'm not here to tell nobody how to believe, but your faith, your spiritual moment is huge. Because that's the one thing that gets you through a lot. Like even those days when you just don't want to survive, don't want to live, don't want to thrive. It is first and foremost. Second, find something positive that keeps you going. Find that one thing, if it's a quote, music, walking outside, going for exercise, watching the water, whatever it may be, to give you the strength that gives you that encouragement. Like I have this song called Keep On Pushing. I listen to every morning as soon as I wake up. That's my song. That's my go-to. And then when I have days that I need to get, that I just have something in my spirit that don't feel right, I listen to, it's gonna be, it's gonna, better days are coming. That's my other song. So I have
Yes,
songs
yes.
that I use that motivate my spirit. That it's just I know it's all gonna be okay. I got this, and it's all right. Then you also gotta have something that you could use. Like I use poetry as my way of talking and speaking and expressing and all those things. So take a, whatever you like to do, if it's writing, drawing, whatever it may be, take that pain and that passion and whatever you feel and pour it into that. Because once you pour it into something positive, it turns into positivity, and then the negative have went away. When you start seeing your mind go to the negative, then take it, stop, think for a second, and retrain yourself to start thinking positive. Find those positive words like power, faith, determination, ambition, strength, all the above. And the first, and I tell you, the last and foremost thing for me is to know that your power is inside of you. You hold all of it. And until you get it and understand you might miss it.
That's good. That's good. Man, those are all powerful things. My favorite is the very last one, like knowing that the power is inside of you. And that power, to me, the power inside of me is the power of the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, if God is for you, He is more than the world against you, meaning He is more than sickness or disease. It don't matter what name they put to it. He is greater than cancer and more powerful than that. You know, He is the great I am. He is
Mm.
Jehovah Rapha, the God that healeth us. He is the God that will provide for us, right? He's Jehovah Jireh. He is all that. And if He is all that, and we believe He lives on the inside of us, then bam, we got that dunamis power. I'm trying to be calm, y'all, but it got me excited. My spirit is excited, and I feel like I'm about to be ignited on today. So I really hope you guys are sharing this information with somebody else too, encouraging them to, keep going, keep pushing. If you don't know how, then here are 5 steps. She laid them all out. Bam, 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 bam. So yes, there you have it. This is Miss Shana Gourdine, and I'm just so excited about all the great things that are happening. It seems like even though you have some negative things happening around you, there's still all this positivity. It's like this flower just growing of positivity. Tell us about some of the great things that are happening to you since all the diagnosis, because great things come out of terrible, but what we consider terrible things at the
Yes,
time.
absolutely. Now, as I'm a two-time author, so I took that step. And from publishing my book to becoming 2019 Purple Ribbon Award for Courage, which came through a program I went through for domestic violence, and that was such an honor. To then writing for a magazine, just winning the title for Global Fashion for African, Fashion for Peace, to having my babies proud of me. Like, that's the best thing ever, is for my kids to tell me, Mommy, I'm proud of you. I don't need nobody else to tell me anything else after that. And I could say the biggest thing that just happened for me is just, I realize my purpose, and I know what my job is. I know what my work is to be done here. And, I'm here to help people heal and understand that, the mission is not just for us, and it's way bigger, and you just got to be ready to do the work. Because a lot of times we're afraid of our purpose because we don't understand ourselves.
Right. Yes. I love that. Yeah. And it just shows that, you know what? Whatever the enemy meant for evil, God takes it and He turns it
Mhm.
around for our good. But our good is like so much greater, like you said, greater than what we could ever have imagined or think. So did you ever imagine that you would be the global face? I mean, okay, tell us about this picture behind you, because I was getting ready to put it up, but this global face.
That that one.
Yes.
I love that picture. Actually, a friend of mine did that picture when I did a show with her. Angela Thomas Smith, my big sister. I met her as well. She did that picture, and that was actually my birthday photo shoot. That picture right there was my birthday photo shoot. And this year for my photo shoot, the message was, I'm a queen. I'm royalty, and I understand that. I understand, the crown of jewels that I hold, that I need to drop the gems for other people to understand who they are. I have to be here to transfer people from trauma to tragedy to triumph. And I'm all about that, and I get my message, and I know that it's way beyond my vision of what I even thought writing this book, the first one.
Yes.
When I wrote the first book, it's like, I wrote it like, all right, I'm putting these poems together. These is what helped me. Okay, my kids, it's something my kids can say, oh, my mom did that. But I put it out, and it's like it went from me dropping this book to me being all over the place speaking about the book and speaking about my testimony. So God had another intention on this mission. And I just had to walk in what he was telling me to do. I had to learn to stop and listen and stop trying to go my own path and learn what the path was that was defined and designed for me. So, it's definitely awesome. I love it. And a lot of times, like I tell people, I don't do it for how many books I sell. I don't do it to brag that I became an author. I do it for the healing of others, to use my scars to heal people, because as I started this process, so many people have came to me and told me how I gave them the strength to take the steps that I took. And that's telling me that this journey, is helping people to learn how to heal themselves. The defining moment when they understand that, I don't have to be embarrassed about anything that happens to me. I don't have to feel judged by anything happened to me. I don't have to feel disappointed in myself what happened to me. I had to learn to forgive, and I have to learn to understand who I am and what I'm worth. So to be able to help people.
Hold on. Now, look, these 2 points right here are worth me just saying. You got to say that again. It's so important that we forgive, because
Ourselves.
it's not until we hit that place of forgiveness that true healing starts to really come forth through our own selves, right? So we're not forgiving for the other person. It don't mean they get off the hook,
Nope.
right? So you're forgiving really for yourself too. So okay, so tell us those 2 points again.
You're forgiving yourself, not, like you said, not for others. You have to have that defining moment to forgive yourself for dealing with the things that you settled for, dealing for the things that entered into your life, dealing for the things that messed up your peace, and knowing your worth of who you are, for not anybody else, but for yourself. Understanding yourself is the most amazing thing, because if you can't understand yourself and you can't know what defines you, where are you? You're still lost. You're still trying to figure it out. You're still trying to take the steps. And if you don't forgive yourself, you can still feel stuck, because you still keep turning around and looking back in your past instead of looking forward to what your future can eventually be.
Exactly. Yeah. And you got to move forward if you ever want to realize, like, all the great things that God has for us. He says that, if a man could count the number of great thoughts that God has for us, it would outnumber the grains of the sands of the sea. We know nobody can even number the grains in the sea. I mean, there's so many grains in the sand of the sea. So that is awesome right there. But that one is a couple of points I want to ask some questions about. So we might go a little over today. If y'all can hang in there, I'm telling you, you're going to learn some things and be able to, if it's not for yourself, then for somebody else. And what I have found in life is, even when we think something is not for us, maybe it's not for you at this time. But if you just imagine, like the old people used to say, just can it right now, baby, and put it in a jar, because you're going to have to pull that jar out sometime in life. So,
Yes.
you know what? Just remember, like, that's what preserves are for, right? They used to get them big old glass things. Yeah, and then they have glass jar. They put them in the jars and they put them on the shelf.
Or like she used to, it's called canning. She used
Yeah,
to
yeah.
jars. put the, and she used to put cases under the beds and stuff like that. Like, I remember them days.
Yep. So just candies, y'all. If you don't need it now, then you might have to get it out for somebody else. You never
Mhm.
know who that somebody else may be. But whatever it is, it's so much better when we just start healing one another together, right? Get on the same mind and likeness as other people. So we got the forgiveness and the understanding, but then look at here, she done hit this other point, which is one of my favorites, is really hitting, knowing your true identity, your true worth. When you find your true worth and your true identity, it's like you hit that gold mine. And when you
Mhm.
really get there, like you start focusing like never before. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get focused, it's like then you really start to understand your purpose, your
Mhm.
worth, and you
Mhm.
won't take nothing less. You won't
Yes.
settle for nothing less. You won't have to worry about feeling ashamed or feeling bad that something happened to you. And you
Yeah.
won't feel like things are your fault. What you'll know is that things that happen in life are just things that happen. It don't
Yeah.
mean it's your fault. Something bad might have happened to you. That's why we can't be going around saying, I got this girl, she's so bad, she's so managed, he's so this, he's so that.
Mhm.
Like, no, maybe something happened to you. We have to start looking at each other through those eyes of trauma. So I'm
Mhm.
trauma informed trainers. If you guys didn't know, just like that. So I look at it like, you know what? Maybe something happened. So maybe if somebody's acting really ugly on that day, you're like, man, I wonder what happened to them.
Yeah.
And so you just never know. It's like before I was mature, I used to say, "What's wrong with them? They ain't take their medication today."
Yes, I've been on that path when I was younger. I get it. Yes. Yes. But then I had to learn, sometimes, with that mask, you never knew what they might have dealt with before they came outside. You might not know what they might have dealt with last night. Something might have hit them or whatever. And it could just not be okay for them. And, they might not know how to maneuver their emotions. And, anger might be their way of dealing with it because they don't know anything different. So sometimes, we have to look at the factors that, people have different things that happen and maybe they don't know how at that moment how to express what's going on with them. And it's because maybe they weren't taught how to express things. Maybe anger is all they've seen, so that's how they react, because that's what they've learned.
Exactly. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Because a lot of times when men and women both, or even our children, when they experience some physical abuse or emotional abuse, then they often grow up and marry somebody like that, or join relationships, and not necessarily romantic relationships, even
Mhm.
sometimes work relationships. They
Yeah.
take abuse because that's become their norm. But
Mhm.
when they see something different, the mind starts saying, you know what? But our mind does what it normally does. It puts up these defenses, and that's what it's designed to do. Until you get with somebody like myself, and they're like, we got to break that out in the name of
Yeah.
Jesus. Like this is not love. This is what love really looks like. This is what it really feels like. And then when you get a taste of that real love, it's just like,
Mhm.
I ain't going back. I am
Right.
not like I've seen the light. Let me go to the light. Go to the light, Tracy. Go to the light.
Yes.
But talk to us a little bit about like how did you get through the your trauma of domestic violence, where your awakening moment, so to speak.
I would say because I experienced the emotion of anger, hate, frustration, mad, all the above, crying, sadness, depression. One, I went to therapy. That's one I had to take that step because like I said, I didn't go through it once, but I went through it twice. And then I had to understand, why is this keep happening to me? What am I allowing in my peaceful circle? What am I allowing to be drawn to my spirit? What is going on inside of me that is bringing this situation obstacle more than once? It's something that I'm searching for. What is it, and why? What's going on? So I went through therapy and had to go through, like you said, peel back some onions and understand some things. And as I went through therapy, I also learned how to step back and look at what's really going on with myself. Like, I really sat in front of a mirror and, with some of my mentor, the people I mentor or do one-on-ones with, I'll tell them, go sit in front of a mirror and put the pros and cons on them. And then you'll learn what you like, what you don't like about yourself. Then you'll understand the internal side of you that you unconsciously think about at night, because your mind is still running while you're sleeping. So when you have these dreams, the dreams are more to understand what's really truly going on with yourself. Like when you having these dreams, your mind is talking to you. And a
Yeah.
lot of times we fail to listen and understand what is truly going on inside of ourselves. Because it's always a voice inside of you talking to you as you go through your day, as you move around, as you wake up in the morning. It you hear it. It's just sometimes we don't pay attention to it because we don't want to believe it, or we're not ready to face it. Like I tell people a lot of times, your biggest enemy is yourself. We fight ourselves every day.
Yes. That's why it's called enemy. It's the one in of me,
Mm,
right? Yeah. That's
yep.
good. Yeah, and it's a lot of times it's our unconscious mind that causes us to do whatever it is that we do. Because when we're
Mhm.
woke, we can make decisions. We can think this part, but it's just like in the Bible. I think it was Paul that said, when I would to do what I wouldn't do, then I end up doing what I wouldn't do. Right?
Mhm.
Okay, so if I mess that up, y'all know what I mean. And I know we all have moments where we're like, "Man, I didn't mean to say that. I was really going to
Mhm.
say this." Where we even start practicing over and over, and that's what it takes. Just like Sheena was saying, that's what it takes. You have to practice those things and really take a deep look at ourselves, and that's what I mean about true self care. You can't have positive expectations when you're going through something. You can
Mhm.
so what you expect is something totally different than what you feel, what you're going through, right?
Yeah.
And my husband has a saying, he always says, you can't expect what you don't inspect. So you have to look on the inside and say, what am I inspecting
Mhm.
inside of me?
Yeah.
Instead of looking out there like they did this, they did that, you
Yes.
know.
Yes. And
Yeah,
people, I tell people a lot of times when they're angry and attacking you, it's really not about you. It's about them. But they don't understand that it's about them until they later sit and evaluate themselves. Like, people attack other people because they're hurt from things they're hurt from, and they never healed from it. So they still holding on to all that luggage, the insecurity, the trust issues, all that anger and all etc. Because they didn't take the moment to sit in front of the mirror and check themselves. I call it the mirror check. Have you sat and did your mirror check? I use, like, since I was going through my healing process and learning myself, I would post on my page. When was the last time you did a mirror check? Because a lot of times you have to stop, like, stop, unplug, and sit with yourself. Understand truly all the different divisions of yourself, because we are the most complex people because we have so much going on. So whereas you got to really sit with yourself to understand who you truly are. And you gotta sit in quietness. You gotta meditate. You gotta sit with your spirit. Because when you're not sitting with your spirit, how you want somebody else to sit with that?
right. That's so true. Yep. And it's so important just to love every part of you. I say love the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whatever it is, you gotta love you, accept you, and because if you don't love you and you don't accept, other people pick up on that,
Mm-hmm.
and other people can sense that. Especially if you meet somebody that's narcissistic, they can truly pick up on those things and say, "Hey, I can see she's weak in this area, so I'm gonna take that one area and I'm gonna pick right there."
Yep.
It's like picking at a open scab. You just pick, pick, pick until it opens up, and
Yeah.
then you found your way in, and then all kind of, you're subject to all kind of things happening at that point. But
Mm-hmm.
when we do, when you're talking about those type of things, and we start seeing those healing, even the writing in itself, when we start writing, we putting our feelings, our emotions out on paper, then it's another form of getting it out of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like naturally, our body naturally, what we take in, we need to flush out, right? You
Yes.
take your food and water, you need to flush that thing out. If you don't, then negative things happen, right? It's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
Absolutely. Like, I used to have a saying that I used to tell people. A lot of times what we eat is what is inside of us. So don't eat the negativity. Only pour positivity into yourself, and then you will always have that positive energy. The more negative you have around you, the more negative things will happen. You want to put positive, you know, activity into your universe and into you and around you. Not saying it will never be anything negative, but you don't have to indulge in it. You don't have to eat off of it. You don't have to, intertwine into that. You have choices and you control it. Like I have a poem in my first book that's called Control. And it says that, I say in there that you control how you feel, you control how you react, you control what's going on. Like if you say today's gonna be a great day, it can be a great day. It's all on you on how it's defined of your day. You don't have to allow somebody attitude change your attitude. You don't have to allow somebody mess to be your mess. You have the decision on how you react. You can't control somebody else's reaction, but you control yours. So I am one big on if that negativity is over there, I know how to remove myself and place myself somewhere else. I don't have to dig into that. I don't have to intertwine in that. I don't have to feast off that because what is feasted in you is what stays in you because then it starts investing in you. I don't want that invested in me, so I ain't allowed it in me.
Amen. I like
I
that.
eat off that plate.
So you let OPP be OPP, right?
Yes.
I know that's old school for some people, right? Other people's problems.
Yes.
Yeah, and I have this saying like your urgency does not create for me an emergency. And we have to
Mhm.
learn how to set those boundaries. So we're
Yeah.
gonna talk a little bit about boundaries, and then I promise y'all we're gonna let y'all know. But it's so important to me to know how to just say no and know
Mhm.
that the word no is a whole sentence in itself. You don't need an explanation. I
Mhm.
always feel like, shoot, I'm grown. I don't need to explain. No means no. I mean, it can have a whole bunch of stuff behind it, but if,
Mhm.
like you said, if you don't want to put your time and your energy into all that explaining, because if you start doing that, if you feed into that, people gonna keep asking other questions. Why?
Mhm.
Well, why
Yep.
is this? Why is this? It's like
Mhm.
just say no and like walk away. So just tell us a little bit about boundaries.
Listen, going through this journey of growth, that was one of the things I added to the tool because how I am this 1,000 things I need a shirt off my back. And no used to be a thing that I wouldn't say it was hard for me, but I always tried to find the greater good in a lot of things. But I learned that people take advantage of that. So I learned their word no, and no, I'm not going to make myself available because my thing is my time is precious. And a lot of times people don't take the time to take the same consideration for your time that you do. So learning your boundaries and learning what is great for you, not what's great for nobody else. Not that, oh, I need to bend this rule for so and so. Mama, sister, friend, don't matter who it is. The boundary belongs for everybody for you to have your peace. My boundary was for my peaceful situation that I needed to sit in. I needed peace and I needed to know where my nose had to align and understand. If I don't want to do something, nobody ain't gonna force me into it. Or how people actually do something and you laying in bed and you really don't want to go, but you're like, I've gotten to the point to where it's just a no. I'm not doing it. It's not happening. I don't feel like it. I've just it's not happening. And I
Yeah.
don't feel that I owe anybody any explanation or I have to validate myself for anybody. And learning that you don't need validation from nobody else from you but yourself. That also gives you boundary to feel that you don't have to explain nothing to nobody. You
Uh-oh.
you know,
Uh-oh. My sentiments exactly. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
because people wait on the validation and they want the approval and they want the okay. Understand the day y'all have heard it. You don't need no validation from nobody else except yourself and the Lord. That's the only person you answering to. You don't answer to nobody else.
Yes.
I mean my mama, but you know what I mean.
Yep, exactly. Right. Yeah, and a lot of times when you're in that stage where we're wearing the mask, we become people pleasers.
Yep.
We don't even know it. We're not even aware of it. But if you make a decision and after you made that decision, you start regretting it, or you start feeling like, man, I really just didn't want to do that. I shouldn't have. Then that I'm saying to you very plainly, you have become that people pleaser. And there's something that you need to look deeper on the inside of you and say, what is it about me that wants to please somebody else or wants to appease somebody else, or I did it so I can get in with this crowd or that crowd. And no, it's not just our teenagers or our kids. It's grown folks too that haven't grown up on the inside all the time. I call it like the little girl syndrome or the little boy syndrome, where it's like that little girl inside of you, she's not pleased or she feel like she got to please somebody else. So you got to take a
Mm-hmm.
look at, why is it like that? But yeah, those are some fantastic. Mm, yeah. Well, we could talk all day, y'all. I'm just saying for real. Like,
We
and
could.
that's what I mean. Like the first time we met, it's just like, dude, I've been knowing her for a long time. It felt that way. And those are the kind of people that you really want to connect with, where you feel like your spirit and their spirit is connected and there's a oneness. And so that's when you can grow with somebody, you can love with somebody, you can call them anytime, text them anytime. They ain't gonna get offended. And if they do, you ain't worried about it. And if you offend them, they ain't worried about it. Because at the end, you're gonna come back together and it's gonna be all love, right? So to me,
Absolutely.
the most important thing is all about love because everything comes from love. Everything good comes out of love. And so if you get nothing else out of this today, besides all those great tips that I hope that you got that we went over a couple different times, then get this, that when you start to love on you, then you find out who you really are and that you're rooted and grounded in love. Imagine yourself as that flower. You can't see a flower before it comes up out of the ground. It's just a little tiny seed. But when you got a seed on the inside of you, and it's called love, and we all have that. We're born with that because we're created in God's image and His likeness, and He is love, right?
Yes.
So every good and perfect thing comes out of love. But you got to allow people to come around and water that seed, nurture that seed, let the light come on that seed, the sunshine. We talk about we need vitamin D. And so I'm not gonna call it vitamin D, but I'm saying that we need that vitamin that where we take time out for ourselves and we do some of the things that Sheena was talking about. We start writing or going walking or whatever it is that makes us feel happy, whatever makes us bring, joy to ourselves. We gotta do those things. And then we can get to the place where it's like, okay, I can set up my boundaries and not even worry about it. I can take these masks off and not be ashamed because this happened or that happened. Yeah, I can let my kids know, maybe I was molested. Maybe you're a person that was physically abused. Whatever it is, there's somebody out there in the world that needs to hear your story, that needs to know your testimony. And you got to know that your test is not just for you, right? It will become a testimony. And sharing it may not always be talking live to somebody like this. Maybe just sharing with somebody one-on-one. Maybe first it's writing down in the story, right? Publishing that story. You can self-publish that story for almost nothing and then letting somebody else see it, right? It could be just writing it on a scrap of paper in a notebook and then just sharing it with somebody else. And when they read that, then people start seeing you through different eyes. And those eyes are not eyes of negativity. Those eyes are not necessarily eyes that make people feel sorry for you or sympathetic. So eyes to see, wow, they went through that. They was going through that, and they still are here today. They still, and that's one of the things that really impressed me. When I met her, she said four. I'm like, four diseases? I'm like, what? Hold on. One day you were working, you're doing all these different things, and then all of a sudden, it seems like all of a sudden, bam, 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 while she's kids, and raising these kids, beautiful kids, right? And
Yes.
still doing something, still encouraged day by day to get up and do something, right? So that tells me if I see a person doing this, then I can have only positive expectations myself. And so I want to encourage you to have only positive expectations. Get you some true self-care. Reach out to somebody. The other thing we always got to do is get a cheering section. I love
Yes. You
the cheering
try.
section. Right. Yes. Somebody that's like, girl, you can do this. I got you. I'm praying for you. Or somebody that just sends you a text. Or somebody that we need that iron that sharpens that iron, right? Because we all got to get better, right,
Yes.
together. And we all
Yep.
are better together. So don't hide out, on the lawn, right?
Nah. Takes a village.
That's right. It takes a village to raise us all, and right, and none of us were meant to be, on the island by ourselves. But tell us how we can
Yes.
get in touch with you and how we can get your book.
You can find me on www.theladybehindthemask.com. I'm on Instagram, I'm Shana Gourdine author. On Facebook, I'm Shana Gourdine author. On Twitter, I'm W Gourdine. And my books are all on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and all other platforms.
And the books are paperback, and are they also ebooks too?
They're both ebooks. The first one is paperback and hardcover. The second one is ebook and paperback.
Awesome, awesome. Wow, well, thank you so much for just sharing with us today. Do you have any last thoughts for us that you want to share?
Of course, to everybody out there, like she said, self-care, keep on fighting. Always remember, put yourself first, and it's no harm in taking a day for yourself.
You got it. Put yourself first. It's not selfish.
It's not selfish, it's okay.
That's right. We always use that the example of when you're on an airplane, right? And you see the lady saying, "Look, if you got a kid next to you, put your mask on first,
Yep.
so they can breathe." And so
Yep.
what we're saying is bring your healing on for you first.
Hmm.
Because while you're going through stuff, you don't know really realize how you treat the other people or what you're really thinking all the time, right? You're making decisions based on some unconscious thoughts, and those unconscious thoughts could be very unhealthy. So we
Yep.
want to thank you so much for joining us. Love you all. Show up again. Hopefully we'll have her back and we can get some more golden nuggets from her because she's doing great things. She didn't even mention all the other things that's coming up, but anyway, we'll catch you another time, y'all. Peace
Yeah.
out.